comes out of this is that by having experienced some of these things, by training guys, by being in contact with guys, researching, you know, films, reading books about different personalities, is that, and you read sometimes about being in the zone, is that athletes are in the zone, and there seems to be this being in the zone is also identifiable with this being in this kind of mindset, high sensation seeker, natural born killer, emergency mindset, whatever. But it's a slightly different mindset in that it's not the mindset of Tiger Woods popping off his perfect shot, because his opponent isn't actually hitting him in the head with his golf club. so in other words, the environments for many athletes are non-challenging in the sense that the opponent is nobody in the lane next to you is giving you a chop in the neck, or the audience aren't throwing things at you or booing you or what. Oh, they might be doing that, but and so your mindset is slightly different sometimes when you hear this thing of being in the zone. The master's in the zone when he's doing his kata, but it's not the same mindset as a fight. It's not the same, and you can't. That's why you can't do a kata, or you can perfect your form and then expect by being in this kind of mushin state with the guy master with his sword or whatever, and then transfer that into the fight, because they're two different things. I don't know if.
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking about the number of times I've sort of watched the Olympics with you, and you've remarked on how single-dimensional most of the events are. Yeah. And how boring they are, because the athlete is only doing a very narrow specialization.
To me, it's not challenging.
And you're comparing that to dealing with the incredible amount of chaos that's going off.
Yeah, I think what you're doing, you're trying to put I think the representation is more of one back in the more primal time than the current. Is one which is under control, and that's why again I say MMA is out of all those things you can't actually have a fight to death anymore. So you can't actually determine exactly what the killing techniques are and what this thing is, but you can come pretty close to it within an MMA competition. As an MMA guy is more likely to succeed in is in an unarmed battle, if you like, where biting and kicking would be allowed. If there's no referee there and no convention of a tapa, he's more likely to succeed in a battle than if a guy who's simply practiced things he believes will kill, but has never actually applied them. He's never actually got the practice of full power. The other guy's going to win, because you've got to practice you've got to practice these things actually to see if they work, even if they're less than what you envisage a technique should be.
I don't know if I should bring this up or not, but do you remember when Neil North had his first ring fight, and he trained a lot for it, and then he had the fight, and he wrote to you afterwards and said that his mindset completely changed the moment he got out there. He couldn't even really remember what happened, and and I think other people have said that too. You almost forget everything that you practiced, you forget everything you trained, and if you haven't had that experience, then what good is anything that you trained?
Yeah, because you've got to focus on what you've got to do, and that is exactly, you're going into that's the zone you're going into, not how you've got to do it. Most people go into the zone. Concentrating on form is great if there's none of this other shit going on around you.
Yeah.
Internalizing your form is wonderful, providing it's internalizing your form which is taking place within this other shit. And as the form you get, the form is the product of this chaos. You're trying to impose your will on the chaos and using what you can do in there to do it, but you ain't going to do it with perfect form. It simply ain't going to happen. And I suppose that's part of what is this mindset I'm trying to create. And that's where sometimes the kata is not representation. It might be a representation in the past of what worked, but it is not a representation of the fight. Only the fight's a representation of the fight. And the only way you can realistically analyze what's going on in the fight, what this thing means, is by taking the kata and applying it in the fight. I don't know if that makes sense. That you have to be a fighter to take it and use it and see if it works.
But then why would you
make the assumption of
But
that
why would you want it really?
Well, you wouldn't
now.
Well, it doesn't. Because you have your own katas now. You have Shadowbot fighting. pertinent to what you're doing
you
now.
could see the point of having a kata when the only transmission of information was oral tradition, but when you have books and videotapes and all
yeah, well,
those things,
culturally that was where you might not settle disputes, but it's a way of
display, a combative
it's a display. Like we're talking about Okinawa, it becomes
Yeah.
a physical display.
Yeah.
It becomes something to divert this
Yeah.
this aggressive energy
Peacocks.
in another direction. It doesn't. It's not actually because if it was directing it at what it's supposed to be doing, then it would be you'd be fighting
Yeah.
to find out if it works. And even Miyagi said, as proof of that, you have to fight to see if these katas actually work. Anyway, that's the. We'll be doing like a series of these things. So
any questions, write in and.
Yeah. Spend another 2 hours. Bye.